Oh, we want to turn back now to news of COVID-19 across Canada. Long-term care homes have been hit hard by outbreaks of COVID-19, and now families are demanding answers. Joining us now is Nainesh Kotak. He's a personal injury lawyer. Thanks for being on Your Morning today.
Thank you for having me.
We have already seen an application filed for a class action lawsuit against the Heron residents in Dorval. Do you expect to see more of these cases in the coming months?
You know, I think that there will be. Look, the reality is not every death has been preventable and not every death is actionable. But, you know, these long-term care homes, they've seen infectious outbreaks before, bouts of influenza. They're dealing with elderly and vulnerable people. There's a statute, the Long-Term Care Homes Act, that in fact requires them to have an infection control mechanism in place, emergency protocols. And I think, you know, hats off to the PSWs and the nurses are there day in, day out and getting infected. But the reality is with the administration, I think, in my opinion, many deaths and tragedies could have been avoided. Look, we've seen it. We've talked about in the Global Mail. It's the national shame. Half of our deaths in this country are in long-term care and retirement homes, our most vulnerable. And simple measures that could have helped, well, obviously not prevent every death, having personal protection equipment at these homes, not having workers go from one home to another, and that's just recently been stopped, and that's what caused the spread. Better pay, better training, and having the PSWs on full-time at particular locations. Most of the long-term care homes in Ontario are privately owned. You know, there is a provision for the government to sort of take over if they really had to, but that's very rarely used. So I do think you're going to see class actions and multiple lawsuits. Now, that's no solace, obviously, to those who have lost a loved one or who will lose a loved one or have somebody who's sick.
Nainesh, I think that's one of the issues that has come to light for a lot of people, you know, sadly, because of this tragedy and because of all the loss of life, is the fact that these are citizens who have lived and paid and contributed to Canada for most of their life. And now at the end of their life, when they're most vulnerable in their health, they're paying to be taken care of. What laws are in place for residents right now, and should there be more?
Right. Well, we have the Long-Term Care Homes Act that is there available and really have strict guidelines to protect those. It has, in fact, a Bill of Rights to protect the most vulnerable. You know, the reality is I think there's a systemic issue that's been going on with long-term care homes over many years, you know, decades, where there's probably been, I think, really maybe a lack of supervision, a lack of actual real-life protocols, despite legislation being in place. And I think when all this is said and done, I know Premier Ford has rightly alluded to this as well. When all this is done, I think there's going to be a reckoning. There's going to be a look at the whole system of our long-term care, what went wrong, and what needs to be done to prevent this from ever happening again. Because it really is a tragedy and a travesty.
Hopefully the justice for these families and for other families involved in long-term care can be seen. Nainesh Kotak, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.